Clarity on Fire, a podcast for people who know what they don't want out of their life and career, but aren't sure what they'd rather be doing.
In a world where it's easy to exist, but hard to feel alive, we, Kristen
and Rachel,
2 certified life and career coaches, are here to help you cut through the information overload, get unstuck, and focus not just on how you can have a career you're passionate about, but how to create a whole life that feels fulfilling.
So join us here, where we serve up inspiration and down-to-earth wisdom in a way that only 2 best friends can.
We want you to experience the relief of knowing that, yes, you're allowed to want more out of your life and career.
And no, you don't have to wander through the dark anymore. Our job is to light the fire that shows you the way. Let's go.
This is our last side chat of the year, and it's happening on a day that no one is noticing this, but I'm still going to say it.
It's not a normal side chat day, but again, you would have never known if we hadn't just told you that.
We switched it so that we could do the side chat while our holiday special was going on for the short course, and then we're going to have an interview with a normal person next week, which will be actually our last episode of the year, because we're not going to be doing, obviously, on Christmas Eve. We're going to not do the 27th, and we're going to not do New Year's Eve.
Right.
So
you guys won't be listening those days anyway, I'm sure.
I mean, I might if I had a good podcast and I needed to get away from, family because they were driving me nuts.
Sneak into a back room and shut everyone out for an hour.
But we have a whole backlog of episodes that people are free to explore during our very brief hiatus for the holidays. But so before we get into this month's side chat topic, just want to remind you that we are halfway through our week-long promotion of the Passion Profile short course, which is available 24/7, but it's $50 off until Tuesday, December 17th with Hode. Well, get yourself a damn Hode. I don't even know. That's not even a thing.
It's not even a word.
Well,
with a code, you can get code.
Holiday. I was trying to say code holiday or holiday code, and I said Hode. That is not the code.
Oh, don't try that one. That won't work.
It won't work.
But if you put in the code holiday, all caps, by the way, you get $50 off the Passion Profile short course until Tuesday, December 17th.
Mm-hmm. So we can talk about this more at the end too, or maybe we'll just talk about it now. It's like,
yeah, let's talk about it now. We're already talking about it.
Okay. So this is a really good place to start if you're new to Clarity on Fire. If you've been following us for a long time and have never kind of done anything with us, this is a really kind of like a no-brainer because it's only 5-ish hours. You can do it in as little as 1 day. If you really enjoyed your Passion Profile quiz result and you want to dive more into, okay, so I'm a tribe member. What does that mean for my career? Like, what are the implications that has on my career? And what should I be doing and not doing?
In my current job,
yes,
but also in order to get the right next job.
Yes.
It applies to both scenarios. So yeah, if you want to be able to use your Passion Profile in a very actionable way, we walk you through that very specifically. Yeah. If you are trying to figure out what you want to do with your career and you're just feeling very stuck, which I know a lot of you are, that's probably why you found us, this is the best first step that you can take. This is the most clarifying first step, and it's going to help you get really clear on how you're meant to be working. And that's going to help you narrow down your options in terms of what are you supposed to even be doing.
I think we use this as an example in the course itself, but it's been so long since I actually listened to the course. I don't need to listen to it. I know what's in there. But I just always think about this girl who emailed us once who she had taken the short course and she had told her dad about it. And all he'd done was take the quiz. But his whole life had changed from realizing that he was a thriver because, do you remember this guy? He was like independently pretty wealthy and he had worked really hard to make that money, but he felt so guilty for enjoying his retirement. Like he felt like he should be doing more.
And he hadn't been that passionate about the work, but he'd been very good at it and made a lot of money from it. And now was retired and was like, shouldn't I be missing working? And he was like, no. I'm a thriver.
Right. Once she explained, after she took the course, she kind of explained what being a thriver was because she recognized, and that was him. And it just like turned his whole world around. And she wrote us and was like, my dad is like so enjoying his retirement now with zero guilt. And I was like, anyone I can help kick back on a beach? Because I think they lived in like Indonesia or Bali or somewhere. And it was like, I was like, anyone I can help
beautiful
kick
paradise
back on a beach and enjoy their life. Like, this is why I do what I do, so that man can enjoy his retirement and his money, his piles of money. That's it.
Well, and in addition to that, I had forgotten that story. So I'm glad you told me about that, because that
one always stood out to me. Because he didn't even take the course. That's what's so funny, is that she took it, she told him about it, and it still changed his whole perspective.
Yeah, just the quiz.
Just the idea of being a thriver changed his whole perspective and gave him permission to do what he really wanted, which is the point of everything Kristen and I do.
Yes. I'm also thinking of one of the examples that we use in actually a bonus that we included in the Passion Profile short course, which was about how learning about her passion profile helped this woman improve her marriage, because her and her husband realized that they had different passion profiles that were complementary, but they thought they were just so different.
And they were at odds with each other.
They didn't understand each other, and now they did. And they actually felt more compatible after learning about this. So we have a whole section about how to use this to improve your relationships too, which is kind of just a side effect of learning about your passion profile, but a really helpful one.
Yeah. So this is a course, again, for people who are new to us, you've never done anything with us. You might have been in a pattern of job hopping. That's usually the most common kind of thing I see, is that people have tried a lot of things. They've gone here, they've done, they've gone over here, they've done that. And they can't quite put their finger on why nothing is working. And very often, this is not usually the only problem, but the first problem you need to resolve is the fact that you're usually working in a way that's incompatible with your passion profile. And you're trying really, really hard to make something work that's at odds with who you are and how you're wired. And until you resolve that, you usually don't have the bandwidth or the ability to ask the deeper, more nuanced questions to peel back the other layers, which are more nuanced, like, what do I want to do? The Passion Profile short course is about how you want to combine your career with your passion. The way we describe it a lot of the time is, there's 4 cardinal directions. Most people who are job hopping are just, their little compass is just spinning like it's broken. Sometimes they're northwest, sometimes they're south. They don't know what they're going. When you get clear on what your cardinal direction is, you can cut out at least 75% of the directions you should just be completely ignoring and focus on the quadrant that's actually right for you. And from there, oh my God, so much easier to narrow down and ask the more deeper, refined questions like, okay, within that sphere, what do I want to be focusing on?
Mm-hmm. Which is why we call this the best first step that you can take to start clarifying that. And in addition to what you're going to get out of the actual course, which was what Rachel just said, there's some additional bonuses that we're offering for this week only that we haven't even talked about yet in this episode. In addition to getting $50 off with that code HOLIDAY, you also are going to get special access to a workshop that we're hosting in January just for people who sign up in this 1 week window. And it's going to be a place where you can ask us some questions. You'll have had some time to work through the course already. But we're also going to be talking about how to set, I don't want to use the word resolutions because we're kind of anti-resolutions.
I've just decided, I've kept calling it that. And
the anti-resolution workshop?
Yeah, it's an anti-resolution
I mean,
workshop.
that's kind of what we're doing. It's like, how do you set goals that actually matter and that you're going to stick to, that are based in something deeper, not just surface level resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
So you get access to that. And on top of that, we are increasing our coaching rates starting on January 1st. But if you sign up for the Passion Profile short course before Tuesday, the 17th, you get grandfathered into our current rates.
If you decide you want to do coaching. And we'll give you the opportunity, if you want, to talk to us in January or February about coaching rather than waiting until March.
Which is our next enrollment window.
When we're actually going to be opening enrollment for coaching. So it's a lot for a pretty small amount of money, if you ask me. And also you can pay in 2 payments. Like, this is a good option for people who, you maybe have been listening to us for a while and you would love to do coaching, but that just feels like it's out of your sphere of ability at this moment.
Or you want to try something a little bit less intense at first. You want to kind of dip your toe into the world of coaching and see what we're all about. this is going to give you a really good taste of it and get you a lot of clarity moving forward so that if you do decide to do coaching afterward, you're already kind of primed for it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It sets you up nicely for the next step if you want to take that. And if sometimes you don't need the next step.
Yeah, sometimes you don't.
Hey, that guy on the beach didn't need a next step.
He didn't even need this course. He just needed the quiz. So, people need different things.
Okay. So that's that. We'll remind you about that at the end, though, after 10 minutes. I don't think you need a reminder.
No, I think you got it.
Okay. So the subject of this side chat came up in a conversation. I mean, it comes up a lot. It's been a real thorn in my side, too, personally. Came up in a coaching conversation recently with a client who's like, what happens if I never get what I want? And I think that was such a good question that it deserves to be picked apart by us in a way that an audience can hear.
Yeah.
Like that conversation between me and her needs to be heard by more people. I can't let you listen to that, but Kristen and I can talk about that.
It deserves some space to really dig into it a little bit.
So her conundrum was, listen, I know about the universe. I've listened to your episode about outrageous openness. I've read outrageous openness. Like, I get the whole concept of surrender, as in, when you're attached to an outcome, you're often blocking yourself from getting it because you're clenching onto it or you're grasping. And one of my favorite quotes from Outrageous Openness, she's quoting someone else.
Quoting a quote here.
I'm quoting a quote here, is the hand that grasps at the floating feather creates the current that pushes it away. Mm-hmm. So grasping at something and being overly attached to an outcome often creates the resistance and the force that ends up shooting yourself in the foot. You don't get what you want.
And you know this because you have encountered needy people who are needing you so much that it's off-putting. That's the sensation we're talking about, just in a more universal sense.
Yeah, you're just doing it to the universe.
Yes.
So we know that we've heard a million times probably on different inspirational personal development podcasts that the best way to show up in the world is to be not attached to the outcome. But what happens when you sincerely do not believe that you can not care about the outcome? What then? Does that mean, because this was her ultimate question, does that mean I'm never going to get what I want? Because I sincerely don't believe that I can surrender my attachment to this thing. And that resonated with me so much because it's been a question I've asked myself a lot in just this last year alone. And I've had to come to terms and to, almost make peace with that concept too. So let's talk about it.
Well, and I love this conversation topic so much because the idea of total surrender to me is almost counter to human nature. Because as humans, you are going to have desires. And that's on purpose. The goal is not for you to become someone who doesn't care what happens and just completely surrenders to everything life sends your way with no preference, with no direction setting on your part. And I do think that there's a middle ground here where you are 100% allowed to have desires, and also you're not going to be able to stop it anyway. And there's also a place for surrender. This is messy. There's no clean answer. I think you have a really good quote, Rachel, that kind of talks about that middle ground.
Me personally?
No, that you're quoting. You just mentioned it earlier.
The feather thing? I just said that.
No. About, oh gosh, I'm not going to remember it now.
Well,
but it was about how you don't have to completely surrender.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. It'll probably come to you because I know you...
Probably. I don't know what she's talking about. But I also want to take a detour and say that the very nature of having desire is human, like you just said. But it also, I want to like in this episode, link to... I'm going to actually link to it, but I'm verbally linking to it right now. One of my favorite side chats we ever did, I can't remember what it was, like probably a year ago or more. It's called Side Chat, a mind-blowing time-bending analogy. And it's about how having desire is actually a sign that what you want is possible.
Yes. Yes.
And so I want you to go listen to that. I will link to it, and so that you can see in the show notes, so you can see what like month we published that in, because I can't remember. But that's a really good corollary to this, because having desire is not a problem. It's actually a sign that what you want is possible.
Yes. It's not only human, it's actually a good sign.
Like, you wouldn't be having that desire unless it was relevant, is the point that I'm trying to make right now. Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the hell you were trying to reference, but
it was about not having to give up all resistance.
Yeah. I think you saying quote is what threw me off, because I don't have any quotes in my head right now.
Oh, okay.
But that's fine. I'll probably say something else that sounds really good in like 5 minutes, and that's fine. But okay, so let me talk for a minute. This has been so incoherent so far. Let me talk for a minute about why I relate to this, okay? And like my personal struggle with this. So I have had this exact thought over and over and over again for quite a while, because when you're 31 and you're single and that wasn't your intention, like when you were 24, you did not think that you would be single and childless at 31. And of course, when you're 24, 31 seems a lot older.
Oh, yeah.
But I still didn't think that, like, it's not like I kind of ever caught up to a different expectation. I still was like, and it wasn't pressure. It wasn't like, oh, I feel like I should be married and have a kid. It's like, no, I actually would have preferred to have not been like 31 and single. But here I am. Like,
right.
This is my reality. And I don't necessarily like that. But what the fuck am I supposed to do about it? You know, like, there's a limit to what you can do about it. So let me just say this. I am attached to the idea of marriage and children. If I don't get that, I'm not going to be as contented with my life as if I did get that.
Right.
Like,
you
being
want
the
that.
spinster aunt in the attic was not really my life's ambition. Though I do not currently live in an attic, but I am an aunt times 3.5. I just had a niece. I didn't have the niece. My sister-in-law had my third niece yesterday. I don't even know her name yet. By the time this episode airs, I'm assuming she'll have a name, but she doesn't even have a name yet. And my younger brother is having a baby in like 4 weeks, a boy, my first nephew. So I don't know his name yet either. So anyway, I am an aunt and I am a spinster. I don't live in an attic.
You never have to live in an attic if you don't want to.
Thanks. I feel so much better knowing that I could live in a townhouse instead of an attic. It's a lot more chic with my dog, of course. Or, 4 dogs. I'll just get one, every couple years. Anyway. Okay, so I am attached to that idea. And I would prefer that over that not happening. So my concern has been the same as my clients was. Is my attachment to that, kicking me in the ass, shooting myself in the foot, whatever? Like, am I screwing myself over because I am not evolved enough to say I have no preference either way?
Right. And this is such a good example to figure out what is that middle ground, like what's the healthy middle ground, because I don't think it's actually healthy for you to give up on such a big value of yours. Like, I want to have a family. And
on something that makes you human, which is wanting connection.
And family.
Yeah, like that's a very human desire. And I don't
partnership.
So I've really struggled with that. Because on one hand, I'm like, I should give it up. I should surrender it. And on the other hand, I'm like, no, but that's just a human need almost.
Yes.
I'm not saying people need to have children. But like, I'm saying like the need for connection, the need for belonging, the need for family, like that, the need for partnership. All of that is so ingrained to being human that it does feel almost cruel to try to expect yourself not to have that desire at all. So here's one of the, this is what you meant. When you asked for a quote.
I knew it would come to you.
I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. Okay, here's what she was trying to get me to say. One of my friends had me follow because she really likes this girl. I actually want to have her on the podcast, Amy Young, who is a dating and relationship coach. Look her up. I can actually link to her in the show notes if I remember. She's really cool. She keeps it very real about dating and relationships. And she said that believing that you have to be completely unattached from the outcome in order to get what you want is the king of all limiting beliefs.
Yes, that was it.
That's what she wanted
I
me to
teed
say.
you up.
Yeah. Well, not very well, but we got there in the end.
We got there in the end.
And that really, just seeing that, and when my friend shared that with me, because she and I were kind of on the same page, we were kind of going through a similar thought process at the same time. And we were like really, kind of trying to come to terms with this together. And she was like, she sent me this, and it influenced me and her in a really positive way. And that, you know what? That's right. You do not. So maybe this is the first point. You do not have to be completely 100% detached from something in order for it to happen. Doubt is a very, very, very human condition too. And so it is, the universe will help you find a way, even though you have resistance. The universe is not like you have to be 100% zero resistance, all surrender, or else we can't help you. They work with the path of least resistance.
Yes.
Which doesn't mean zero resistance. It means some resistance is allowed. Some doubt is allowed.
Yes. To expect yourself to never have doubt that you'll get the things you want is its own weird, warped form of perfectionism. Because you're never going to be a human who doesn't have doubts sometimes. That's a human experience.
Yeah.
And that's normal. So the nuanced approach, though, that I want to take here is that the desire, and I'm going to use your example that you shared, Rachel, because it's just a concrete example.
I shared it because I want to share it.
Yeah, it's a concrete example to work with. So the desire for family and partnership, that is totally normal and healthy. And I don't think you should have to surrender that desire.
No, I think it's mean to ask someone to surrender that.
I do think that's mean.
Yeah.
The difference here is to say, oh, I want partnership on this specific timeline. I want partnership with this specific person or in this very particular way.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to try to take control over how you get there. That's the part that you don't have total control over. That's the part that I think is worth surrendering, to say, this is what I ultimately want. And I don't know who the best person is.
I might think I do, but you don't always know.
I don't know the best timeline. I think I do. I want it when I want it. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily know the best path to get to where I want. So that part I try to surrender, but I don't need to give up the ultimate desire.
To say that in much shorter terms, just so people can like kind of take a nugget
Congeal
away. Yeah. Congeal wasn't the word I was going for, but that's fine. It's just a nice visual. It's okay to want what you want. Wanting it on your terms is when things go south.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's my problem, is because I have like a whole terms and conditions page I wish the universe would opt into, and it's just not.
Well, we all do, you know?
I know. And so having it your way is where things start to go south. It's okay to want it. It's not necessarily going to work if you insist on having it on your terms, which means this is the timeline I prefer. This is the exact height of the person that I want. I do feel attached to that still. You know what I mean? I'm not going to apologize for my attachments. But I also understand that you have to be open to being surprised.
Yes.
So that's part of it. And you want to know what? Here's what's funny. When I believed that I had to be 100% unattached to an outcome in order for it to happen, my mentality became very bleak, because I was like, that's impossible.
Yep.
So basically, I had to resign myself to the fact that what I want is never going to happen, because I can't do what it takes to get there.
Right. Which you're never going to be doubt-free.
Which is the bedrock of hopelessness. It's really bleak. So what happened was, when I gave myself permission to not be 100% unattached, to be somewhat attached, I was able to relax more around it, which, you want to know what? Creates less resistance, which makes it more likely that you get what you want. Because when I was down there thinking, well, I'm screwed because I can't do it 100%, so I can't do it at all, being down there in that place meant I was way further away from getting to my ultimate goal, because I was just a pile of doubt and resistance and fear. Yep. And you're never a good match to what you want when you're in that state.
Yeah, exactly. I'm also now thinking about things that I wanted in the past. And this was, I'll admit, this was me wanting it my way, wanting to take control of.
I have countless examples of that.
Right. But things that I was dead set that I wanted, that if I look back, I am so glad I did not get.
Yeah.
So some of the things that you are sure you want, in time, you might be glad didn't work out for you. Whereas if I told you in that moment, you may never get this. You may never be in a relationship with that person. You may never get that job. Your business may never work. If I had told you some of those things in the moment, you would have felt crushed.
Yeah.
But when you look back, you can say, oh, thank God those things didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad that I didn't get what I wanted because I ended up getting what I needed.
And that's another thing that you have to be unfortunately open to, which is, it's just, I know, I don't like it either, but you have to be more open to getting what you need than getting what you think you want. Like, you're allowed to want what you want. And I'm not saying that you should doubt that everything you want is like a red herring or false or something like that. I want you to trust your gut. And I don't want you to doubt doubt that what you want is true and right. I just think there has to be some room left for acknowledging, okay, I want what I want, and maybe that's not what I need, or maybe what I want is not the totality of what's possible. That's another thing too, is that sometimes you haven't actually dreamed big enough. And so you have to leave room for getting better outcomes.
Yeah, I can't remember where I heard this now. You might remember this.
Mm-hmm.
But a phrase that I love to say when I'm feeling very attached to something is, all right, universe, I want this, but if not this, something better.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a quote. That's just kind of like a ubiquitous phrase at this
in the
point.
lexicon of the self-help world. But yeah, you can say this or something better. And I'm open to you surprising me. I'm open to what I want now is maybe not what future me is going to want. And I'm open to that changing. But I want something better, if not this. I think you're allowed to say that. Why not?
Yeah. Another point, you can be mad about not having gotten what you wanted.
Oh, yeah.
Please, 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 please. Don't spiritually bypass that shit. Don't try to pretend like everything's A-okay that you don't have what you wanted when actually you're like a stewing ball of resentment and rage about it. Like, you can be mad that you haven't gotten what you wanted. And I'm not saying you have to sit with that for, days on end. But I'm saying it doesn't pay or help for you to try to pretend like you're not feeling how you feel, ever.
Yeah, how many episodes have we had now about feeling your feelings?
Yeah, so it has to be okay for you to sometimes rant and rave at the universe at large for not giving you what you want. And then one of my favorite Tosha Silver quotes is, feel how you need to feel for as long as you need to before it becomes self-indulgent.
Yep.
Like right up until the line that it becomes self-indulgent, that's when you stop. So I think you're allowed to feel how you feel. And then when it becomes like, okay, you're just bitching now, that's when you have to step back and be like, okay, all right, I'm mad and, not but, and there must be a good reason for this. There must be a good reason for, why I don't have what I want at this time. And so, okay, what am I going to do in the meantime? This is something I've talked about before in other episodes, maybe even in that time-bending one, maybe in a different one. I don't know. I'll link to some that I think are good listening for after this. But okay, if you're not getting what you want on the timeline that you want it, then you really have two options. You can complain about that and be angry and hope that it, what you want still comes anyway. Or you can use that time that you would prefer to have the thing that you want, but you don't have the thing that you want, doing something productive. Yes. And I don't mean productive like checking boxes and tasks off a list. I mean using that time wisely to invest in yourself in some way or another. Because I think one of the things you and I have found over and over again, to our chagrin sometimes, is that, not getting what I want on the timeline that I wanted it gave me the space to become qualified for the thing that I wanted.
Yes, better prepare for the thing that I wanted.
Yeah.
That came later than I wanted it to, but I was in a better place mentally, emotionally, just situationally to be able to really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I know. We're all impatient humans. Like, we want what we want and we want it now.
Right.
Always.
Right.
It's never going to come quick enough for you.
Never, because it's always you want it now, and rarely do you have a thought, and in that exact same minute that you have that thought, the thing that you want magically appears. No, that doesn't ever happen. So once in a lifetime, maybe.
There's going to be a waiting game.
Yeah,
period.
Whether it's 5 minutes or 5 years, there's going to be a waiting game. And so how you use that time matters.
Yes.
And can actually make it come quicker. Not that I'm saying you should try to you can't manipulate the universe. The universe is smarter than you. But I am saying that if you don't spend that time, complaining and moaning, and you use that time in a more productive way, that it's like an investment in yourself, like in your ability to feel your feelings, in your ability to heal some of your old wounds, in your ability to get clear on what it is you really want, and
or foster some other areas of your life.
Sure, pay attention to other areas of your life. All of those things. If you can spend some time doing that, then what's interesting is that you actually, you make yourself a better fit for the thing you think you want, which means it can actually like smooth and ease and maybe even speed up the timeline. Again, we can't have the wrong intention going into that. It can't be the only reason you're doing it is so you can get what you want faster. You have to actually care about doing it just for you, no matter what the outcome is. Right. You have to care about bettering yourself for you.
I love this too. It's like, I'm going to start to feel good in another area of my life so I get what I want. I'm like, you could also just want to feel good.
Yeah, wanting to feel good is enough.
Like, that's okay too. You can just decide, okay, well, if I'm going to be waiting, what's the best use of this time? And how do I want to spend it in a way that's going to feel the best to me? And maybe prepare me. You can do active waiting or passive waiting.
Mm-hmm. So I think we have a blog about that. I'm not sure I've brought that back since we've started this podcast, but
I wrote a blog recently about how it's okay to want what you want and also enjoy what you have. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't have to give up your desires, and being grateful for what you have now does not mean that you're going to be complacent.
Mm-hmm.
So similar here, like, feel grateful for what you have, enjoy what you have now, even if it's not everything that you want. Because guess what? It's never going to be everything you want. As soon as you get this next desire, you're going to want something else.
Yeah. And it's not going to be always fast enough.
Oh, and never. I've never met someone who's like, man, my desire came way faster than I wanted it to.
And then the next one did too. And then the next one after that.
Never.
Well, first of all, that person would be burned at the stake and they would deserve it. Know what I mean? Like, that person can't exist.
No, that person can't exist. We'd all be too jealous to let
that's
them
what happened to
continue.
Jesus. Not to take this on a real downward turn, but I'm like, I think he was really good at manifesting, and people just didn't get it.
The best?
Yeah. So, okay. I think that's the main point I wanted to make. I don't think we need to go on and on, but I want to just give you permission to not be fully detached and to not think that that's going to ruin you, to not think that that's going to completely mess up the chances of you getting what you want. And you have to let go of having it on your terms.
Yep. You don't have to surrender your desires, but you do have to give up your control over how it happens.
Yes.
But like Rachel said, you're also allowed to feel annoyed sometimes.
Yeah.
And be angry and impatient sometimes.
Yeah.
Until it becomes self-indulgent.
Then you go back to the personal development work.
Yeah, for me, I know that line is, I'm starting to get sick of myself. For a little while, it kind of feels good and righteous to be angry and pissed off that something's not happening. And then eventually you get so sick of yourself.
The difference between me and you is that you get sick of yourself a lot sooner than I do.
That's true.
I can really marinate in a bad mood for quite some time. Type 4 Enneagram problems, for sure.
Type 9, we're like, okay, that was enough. I'll move on now.
Oh my gosh, wow. That was indulgent. I just had a little scoop. And I'm over here eating a trough of ice cream. And then that was too much. So, to each their own. But it's okay. It's all right. This is hard. It's messy. Life, you didn't come here to get what you wanted instantly. And that's part of why life sucks. Really, though, it is.
And yet there's also something to be said for anticipation.
Yeah.
If you wanted something and instantly got it, it wouldn't be very satisfying.
This reminds me of another side chat it's called a Tough Love Smackdown, where we talk about a little bit about the same theme. So I'm going to link to some, these are all older episodes.
We have a lot of follow-up listening for you guys.
So I'm going to link to a bunch of good stuff that you guys should listen to next, especially since we're going to be taking that hiatus after the 20th for a week and a half. You can download some stuff for your holiday listening. So, okay, reminder, Tuesday the 17th will be the last day of our short course promo. $50 off, code HOLIDAY. Link is in the episode description, or you can always just go to clarityonfire.com, work with us. The short course is under the Work With Us tab. And you can read about it and see if it's, the right thing for you.
Yeah, we'd love to have some of you guys in there. And also we'd love to see some of you in that workshop we're doing next month.
Yeah, I guess I should just say real quick that for those of you who are really brand new, the short course is all do it yourself. So it's not like you have to be present for anything. You know, there's no like live videos or anything. It's literally
you can do it all in one day. You can do it spread out over a couple of weeks. It's totally at your own pace.
Okay. We will see you on Tuesday. We are going to do a special episode because Tuesday is Kristen's birthday. And it's one of the last episodes of the year, one of the last episodes of the decade. So we're going to do...
And it's the last day of our promotion. There's a lot of things going on that day.
We're going to do a decade in review episode.
Woo! Whole decade.
I mean, it's not... I hope it doesn't turn out to be like a super long episode. And I'm not going to literally go through every point. But I do want to hit some like highs and lows of the 2010s. And just kind of talk about where we've... Not just... I mean, like, obviously, yes, our journey, but clearly we're going to be pulling some nuggets that will hopefully serve you too.
Yep.
But we're definitely going to go back and give you some highlights of how shitty some parts of the last decade were. Because I know that's really what you're interested in.
There have been some highlights too.
Yeah, but if I were listening, I would want to hear that. I wouldn't care about the highlights as much as I would care about the bad stuff. So I want to talk more about that. Not more, a little bit more. Okay, so we will see you then.
See you Tuesday.